Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 6th, 2022, and I'll call to order the Ottawa City Commission meeting. Can I have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Graves,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
Mayor Crowley.
Present. That makes four of us, so we have a quorum. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight, whether you're in the audience or if you're listening or watching us, whether some form of media. We will start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll move to the invocation, which will be given by Tiger Pennington, the pastor of First Baptist Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Eternal and loving God, we give you thanks for this good city, a good place to live. We give you thanks for those who have taken the responsibility to lead, to make decisions. So tonight, God, we ask by your spirit of wisdom to grant a holy mixture of divine discernment, of listening humbly, of bold courage. And God, that all of that would be mixed together to a recipe for flourishing and thriving for all of Ottawa and all of its citizens. We give you thanks again for this place and for those called to serve and to lead and those who are here. Through Jesus Christ our Lord we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. That'll move us on to our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from our March 2nd regular meeting, our March 7th study session, our March 14th study session, our March 16th regular meeting, the March 21st study session, our March 28th study session, and our agenda approval. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. That'll move us on to our regular agenda. Do we have any public comments tonight?
None this evening.
Thank you. Moves us on to item 9, which is our declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider any items today impartially. Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Item 10.
Appointment of Zachary Clayton to fill City Commission seat vacated by former Commissioner Tom Wygand.
I always enjoy this agenda item when it comes up because it's dear to my heart because I went through this too. So at this point, I'd like to welcome Mr. Clayton to come up and be sworn in by our acting city clerk and finance director, Ms. Landis.
You can just come on up here. You're going to take a seat up here.
Commissioners, you might want to formally vote on his appointment before you swear him in.
Yeah, we may change our mind.
Okay, well, you can stay up there because I'll make the motion. No.
1 foot up, just in case.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Zachary Clayton to fill the City Commission seat.
And
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaler and Commissioner Skidmore. Is there any discussion?
No.
If not, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Mayor Crowley.
And I vote yes. You can come up now.
Come on up. Don't sit down, though, because they're going to give you a...
All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your
I,
name,
Zachary Clayton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner.
discharge
Discharge.
the duties of City Commissioner
Of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Very good.
And put your name tag up there. You're now official.
Mr. Clayton, I believe the students have to leave in about 27 minutes, so if you can, cover it by then.
I was told I have an hour to speak, so
All right.
They
we're talking about
appreciate
Star
that.
Wars and KU,
Yeah.
so be ready.
We better vote again.
No, I just want to thank everyone, obviously up at this table, for your vote of confidence in me, as well as all the people in the community who voted last November in the general election and either reached out to you guys or reached out to me for support. And so I'm honored to be up here and hope that I can live up to everyone's expectations.
Do great.
Great.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's get to business, I guess. That'll move us on to item 11.
Proclamation recognizing April as Fair Housing Month.
This proclamation encourages fair housing practices in Ottawa. Crystal Anderson, Chief Executive Officer of ECAN, will accept the proclamation, and it will be read by Commissioner Graves.
The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Congress of the United States passed the Civil Rights Act of 1968, of which Title VIII declared that the law of the land would now guarantee the rights of equal housing opportunity. And whereas the City of Ottawa is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas the City of Ottawa passed a fair housing ordinance in 1976 and updated the ordinance in 1997 and 2000. And whereas the fair housing groups and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development have over the years received thousands of complaints of alleged and illegal housing discrimination and found too many that have proven upon investigation to be violations of the fair housing laws. And whereas equal housing opportunity is a condition of life in Ottawa that can and should be achieved. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Fair Housing Month, and expresses the hope that this year's observance will promote fair housing practices throughout the city. Signed this 6th day of April 2022 by our Mayor, Eric Crowley.
Thank you. Crystal, you want to come on up? I'll bring it to you over here. We're gonna do a handshake and a couple pictures if you don't mind also.
Just wanted to thank everyone, commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager. Happy to accept this proclamation and really want to show appreciation to the commission in the City of Ottawa for showing that intentional commitment to housing challenges in our community. Particularly this month, you're acknowledging that not only do folks deserve safe and affordable housing, but they deserve fair and inclusive practices while accessing it. So thank you for bringing that recognition and pushing this forward.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
That'll move us on to item 12.
Presentation of donation check to Hope House.
The commissioner will donate $2,000 to the homeless program, and I believe Sue Steinmeier from Hope House will accept the check. Okay, hey, come on. We'll do a picture with all of us now, and then all of you can speak if you'd like.
We have one speaker. Okay. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I do need it lowered. First of all, I don't know if everyone knows, but where's Sue? Oh, right here. The one. These are our co-directors. When we decided with Hope House, we did have a director. You know, Mary Lois resigned, and then we had Michelle, who was our interim. She was the assistant, and then she decided to be the interim. But then we decided we put it off for doing electing our hiring another director. So they kind of talked between themselves and decided that they would like to both do it. So, and we were okay with that because Shell didn't want to do full-time and Sue didn't want to do full-time. So we have co-directors, so they kind of divide the duties between them, and that is working out very well. Great. So not sure. So anyway, so this is Michelle, this one, and Michelle Graff, and that's what Sue now Steinmeier, okay? And everybody probably knows me, Janet Slifer. I'm around. So on behalf of the Franklin County Homeless Coalition, we'd like to thank the city for their donation of $2,000 to be used to help provide shelter for those in need in Franklin County from December 31st, 2022 through April 1st, 2022. The coalition has provided 248 nights at a cost of $15,184.24. We have sheltered 23 males, 21 females, and 9 children. So you can see there is a definite need for this type of assistance. And we will be providing some also. We do that also in the summer when it gets really, really, really hot, okay? But second of all, we would like to thank Paul Bean for spearheading that fund drive for the coalition. The response from businesses and organizations have been tremendous. The fund drive brought in over $10,000 for the coalition. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope House is really, I call it our facility, because everybody, the city, because we do a lot. And thank you for all your support. And if it wasn't for all of you and all the city of Ottawa, we could not do it. So thank you very much, and thank you for this $2,000.
Sure.
Thank you.
Say, Janet, just a quick, you want to give us an update on the transition to your new location? I haven't heard much about that.
Oh,
so if you can
oh,
get-
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what? We have everything. Pretty much, we have everything working. A couple of
Okay.
things. We are going to have to get a new roof one of these days or years. Okay, so we'll have to raise some fund for that. But we have everything out. We have all of our food set up. We love it. We put in new floors, and it is just everybody. It's just such a nice facility. It is so heartwarming and so user friendly, whereas the other Hope House was not. It's light. There's lots of room. We can spread out. I mean, Sue has her own office. Michelle has her own office, and I'm more or less in charge of the food pantry. So we have so much room, and when we get a donation from, you should come to see us when we get a donation from the DC Center. Oh my gosh! Last couple weeks ago, we got 1,500 pounds. So that was 2 pallets. So here we are trying to get all this food, together before and put it on shelves, etc. So that's really been a good thing. So we are going to have a ribbon cutting on June the 3rd, which is the first Friday in June. And so I hope all of you can come. So you can take a tour and see how we've fixed it up, got rid of a lot of things that was there before when you were probably first there. We still had a lot of work to do, and but it's really come together. We got it all painted, and we have a grant to do a bathroom, but we haven't been able to get that done yet. So, and with a shower, so but everything else is done. So that has really come together with everybody donating, and that's been a plus. Yes, Mike. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
So, yes, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you three, and especially thank Hope House for what they do for not only all the citizens, but certainly the citizens that are in need for citizens of Ottawa. You guys do a lot of great work. We appreciate it, and I know they do too. So thank you.
Yeah.
That'll move us on to item 13.
Request to endorse educational facilities revenue bonds for Ottawa University.
The bonds are special obligations of the Industrial Development Authority of the County of Maricopa and do not constitute a debt or obligation to the City of Ottawa. The aggregate principal amount not to exceed $65 million, of which not to exceed $25 million, is anticipated to be used to finance and refinance certain equipment and facilities at the university's Ottawa campus. The remainder is to be used for the Surprise, Arizona campus and to fund related cost of the bonds. And I believe we have Craig Kispert and Scott Waller on Zoom. Which one of you would like to start first?
I can say a few words. This is Craig Kispert. It's great to be here with you today. I'm a relatively new member of the Ottawa University campus, just starting in December, but appreciate the opportunity to have this before the commission. This is a pretty routine transaction. As I understand it, doesn't have any obligations to the city, but because of tax code and things, requires kind of endorsement of the process. The new projects, for any interest that are mentioned in the comments earlier, are for the construction of a new residence hall, classroom building in Surprise, Arizona, and some refurbishment and renovation of one of the athletic facilities on the campus there. Happy to answer any further questions that you may have about this.
Scott, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think you've summarized it really well. Again, this is just a requirement of the federal tax code. These bonds will be issued by an Arizona issuer facilities in both Kansas and in Arizona. A public hearing was held, hosted by the Kansas Independent College Finance Authority, of which the city is a member. And this is a follow-up because the federal tax code for the interest on those bonds to be exempt from gross income in the hands of the holders of those bonds requires this public hearing process and then approval of the highest elected official of a host jurisdiction, i.e. where the facilities are located. So again, the commission, Mayor, we appreciate you considering this similar request to years past, both with the RAND program and prior financings for the university, but no obligation at all of the city, not a debt, not a liability, no other sort of recourse against the city.
Thank you.
That's great. I know we do this each year, and it's just always exciting to see the use of the funds and what they're for. And I think there's just an equal excitement about the local campus as well as the surprise campus. I've been down there several times and just see the people in the city and the commission there, how excited they are to have us in their own backyard. So, yeah, with all that said, I will certainly recommend we approve item number 13 on our agenda.
Have a motion, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Crowley.
And I vote yes, too. Motion is approved. Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Scott, for the information that you've given us the last couple days.
Thank you.
That'll move us on to item 14.
Request for approval of development agreement with Homestar Builders LLC for Markley Edition.
This agreement outlines the developer's obligation and the city's obligation in regards to the Markley addition in Ottawa. And I believe, Darby, you're going to let us in on a little information here.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, newly appointed Commissioner Clayton, congratulations. Richard reminded me to move this up, so.
It's because he really likes that. Watch out.
He likes the
Really
button, yeah.
likes.
You've had this development agreement in front of you a few times, Commissioners. It's been approved by council for both the city and the developer. It approves most of the improvements that already have been underway as far as I know it. So it's in front of you for approval for that final development agreement. And if you have any questions, both I and City Manager Richard Neistat will stand for questions.
Commissioners, any questions for Darby? I have just, it's a generic development agreement that we generally use, correct?
Well, yes, but it's been tailored to this and been
That's-
approved.
Yeah, but there were just a
Correct.
few changes, correct? Could you
Correct.
just give the highlights of the changes?
Yes, there's a few options under the subdivision regulations of the city for the main change in this development agreement is the way in which the improvement costs will be financed. That is an irrevocable letter of credit in this case. There are a few options under the code in the city, as commissioners and mayor are aware, and that's what the developer opted for in this case. That's the main change from what's standard.
Which is something that any developer could actually request.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for Darby? I believe City Manager Neistat, you want to say a few things?
Excuse me. Well, City Attorney gave you a good overview of it. I thought that I would at least take this opportunity, Commissioners, for you and especially for our public. What happens when you approve this? I can assure you it does not get lost in a filing cabinet. In fact, after you approve it, and we get all the signatures on it, then it goes to 4 different departments. It goes back over the community development. They will keep a copy of it. They will go file it over at the courthouse, and they will help monitor it and make sure that everything on there is met, and then a building permit can be issued in earnest. Public Works gets a copy, and Public Works will actually be doing the inspection on these improvements to make sure that they're built to our code and our specifications, because at some point, Public Works will come to you and say, they've built them right, we've got past our first year, and we recommend that you accept those improvements into our public utility system. And then it goes to finance and the city attorney. City attorney will keep looking at it, will keep it on file in case there's questions, and the finance director will work with the developer and will work with the city attorney to make sure that we have the appropriate letter of credit on file and any other financial issues that we address. So it doesn't end with you just approving it. It gets signed, it gets shipped out to other departments, gets registered with the county, and we use this as our guide to go through the construction phase on the project. And I might also add, it is very rare. It is so rare. This is the first time I've handled one of these because it is generally done over on the community development side with review by the city attorney and review by the director of finance, and then I do the final review. But it just so happens because of some changes we've had that I've handled this, so I hope I haven't drawn it out too long for you.
City Manager Nightstead, as with every agreement that the city enters into, this document is available to the public for their review at any time, correct? I mean,
Yes.
yeah, you may need to give us just a little bit of time to get it, but I mean, it's certainly a public
Yes.
document that's available for anyone.
And my guess is it's already up there on our cloud because it's been a part of your agenda packet. So it's been part of a couple of agenda packets. So the public can always go to our website and can always go to our agenda page and see what you're looking at.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for either Darby or the city manager? If not, how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the development agreement with Homestar Builders as listed in item 14 in our agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? If not, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor
And
Crowley.
And I vote yes. Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Darby. That'll move us on to item 15.
Request for approval of bids for 2022 street rehabilitation.
The city received 2 bids for the mill and overlay project and 2 bids for the chip and seal project. Staff recommends the bid from Vance Brothers in the amount of $120,713.35 be accepted for the chip and seal project. They also recommend the bid from Killo Construction, Inc. in the amount of $71,371.20 be accepted for the mill and overlay project. And is it Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, Dennis will. Good evening, Dennis. You want to give us some information on these 2 bids?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We've been through this a couple of times now. I think we were definitely pleased with what we saw come back on these bids. These bids did come in somewhat under our engineer's estimate, and in the environment in which we do business these days, that's relatively rare. So we are pleased to bring these to you, and we'll see where this takes us down the road. I know there was some discussion Monday about the possibility of maybe doing a little more with this money. I would ask for the commission's patience there. We will look at that as we move forward. We do have some other projects that we've already begun to outline for you, and so we will get as involved as we possibly can and get as much done as we can. But I think we've got a really, really good start right here.
Thank you, Dennis. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Dennis? Dennis, you say you were kind of modest when you said it was somewhat under. The mill and overlay project actually came in about 30% under the what we thought it was going to be. So that's a pretty significant savings, which is wonderful to hear.
Absolutely.
Commissioners, how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the bids for the 2022 street rehabilitation.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion a second. Do we have any discussion?
I'll just point out that I watched the bid opening, and both these bids were the low bid on each of those, so we are saving quite a bit of money that way as well.
Good point, Commissioner.
I think also too is that it's important that the city, this is obviously one of the things that is visually apparent to almost every single citizen in the city of Ottawa. Sometime during the summer or in the fall, you're going to notice that a road is being repaired or changed, modified in some way. And so it is important to know we can't do every single street rehabilitation that needs to happen, but this is a good start for this year.
Any other discussion? Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore,
Yes.
Mayor Crowley.
And I vote yes. Motion is approved. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Commissioners.
That will move us on to item 16.
Request for approval of resolution authorizing accounts with Kansas Municipal Investment Pool.
The approval of this resolution will allow the city treasurer to pursue participation in KMIP to better leverage the city's idle funds. And Rebecca McCurdy will discuss this with us.
Good evening. Not quite as tall as the last one.
Did you see Richard's look when you didn't know over that?
I know, I looked over. So you use the acronym KMIP in your description, so I thought I'd give just a little brief explanation of what that is. So the state of Kansas offers local governments an investment alternative that's called the State of Kansas Municipal Investment Pool, and so that's where KMIP comes from. And so the ability to participate in it is outlined by a state statute that allows any governing body in a county, city, township, school district, or any other governing entity the opportunity to invest idle funds in it. And the reason why we're requesting is we've been watching the rates go down locally, but in KMIP, they have a stated minimum that they list each week, and their minimum rate just keeps going up. And so by being a member of KMIP, even if you don't invest in the pool, you can take the minimum required interest to your local banks, and they have the opportunity to match it. But yeah. Oh, and because I felt like Commissioner Skidmore might ask, I did look up this week's rate.
Very smart.
And it's up from when I came last time, it was at 1.5 something, and it's 1.78.
That's for 1 year?
Yep.
Commissioners, any questions for Rebecca?
Did you notice how it made Commissioner Skidmore speechless? He didn't even respond after that. You said, is
Doesn't
that
happen very
really for
often,
1
no.
year?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I realize in the banking business, we want to keep our cost of goods sold as low as possible, and we like that 0.00 nothing rate on deposits. But we realize, too, when you get an opportunity like this, and as my position up here, that fiduciary responsibility I have, too, we have to look at this much of a difference. I mean, it's like taking the high bid when we don't need to, and on that reverse order of what we've been talking about on the streets. And so I really feel like, yes, you do give the opportunity to local banks to match that, and I think that's important that we recognize that. But at the same time, with that kind of rate, I'm sure we'll be able to put a lot of money there. And also, I want to point out, too, we've had money there in the past for many years, and it's good to kind of keep the money spread around, I feel, too. So that's always a good idea. But, yeah, that's a very good rate, so.
Well, and I'd like to give a little bit of credit to Commissioner Skidmore. I know he had a hand in kind of bringing this to the forefront and having a discussion to bring this in front of us. That's a great rate for sure. You're always looking out for local banks and local economy for sure, but certainly looking out what's best for the taxpayer dollars. So we certainly appreciate your commitment to this also.
Sure. And I probably won't make friends with the other bankers in town, but that's no change anyway, so we'll just continue on. Thanks for bringing that.
But the KU fans like you, so I mean, that's good.
Yeah, that's right. We
You're
got one
good.
thing.
Commissioners, any other questions for Rebecca? If not, how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the resolution authorizing the account with KMIP.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton.
Yes.
Can I vote?
Oh, Mayor Crowley.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I'd vote yes anyway, so. Motion is approved.
If you would have missed Commissioner Skidmore, that would have
Yeah,
been
I
different.
know, I'm so
Please give me a
sorry.
chance.
I'm sorry.
Golly. That'll move us on to item 17.
Boy, they're already ready.
Number 17.
Boy.
Request for approval to add 9 properties to the Neighborhood Revitalization Program.
Thank you. The Neighborhood Revitalization Program Review Committee has recommended 9 residential structures be added to the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. Those properties are, for residential new, 605 North Main, for selling. For residential new rental, 506 South Sycamore. For residential remodel, owner occupied, that's 723 West 7th and 324 South Locust. For residential remodel selling, that's 317 South Sycamore, 433 South Elm, 807 North Hickory, and 808 South Mulberry. And for residential remodel rental, that's 903 East Walton. And I believe City Manager will start off with some information.
So a little bit of a history lesson, Commissioner Clayton. The reason we have this dais here like this is because we had an employee that got tired of standing on a soapbox to speak to the commission, and we did what we try to tell other people to do, is accommodate the differences in people that come visit with us and our employees. So that's why we have this. Right. So, just good. So, thank you, commissioners, mayor, commissioners. I thought it would be important just take a few minutes, review the history of this program and what it accomplishes, not only with you, but with our citizens that look in. I believe this program was started in 1999. I actually was a champion of the statute when it was being shepherded through the legislature in the last century. And because those of us in communities saw what the potential was for this, and up until this program was approved by the legislature, there was really no way to help your local citizen that would qualify, that wanted to improve their home or build their home under certain conditions. So it is a way to do that. I want you to think about that. We give away abatements to industries and business. This is not an abatement. An abatement says, Mr. Crowley, you have an, just to pick on you, you have an 80% abatement on your building. Mr. Crowley does not have to pay taxes during the term of that 80% abatement. He only pays 20%. So, and that's for 10 years, in most cases. This is a rebate program, okay? A rebate program that you can say that a person gets anywhere between 5 to 10 years of up to 100% abatement. It's never really 100%. It's generally winds up to be 95% for administrative costs, but it's a rebate. Because now that Mr. Crowley on his building has qualified for a 100% rebate, and that rebate is only on the improvement increment, he keeps paying taxes on the portion that was previously improved, the base, we call the base. He has to pay his taxes. Unlike with an abatement, he has to pay his taxes first to all three entities, and then he has to go get the rebate. He has to show that I've paid my taxes, I'm eligible for the rebate. So there's some work involved with that. But what it does do is recognize that, recognize the investment that the homeowner, that the home builder has put into that property, to either remodel or to build. It is a, it is put together all three of your major governmental entities, school district, county, city participate. And there's a board that's put together, of which one of you serve on. The current representative is Commissioner Kaler. There's a representative from the school district, representative from the county, and when there's an application to be in the neighborhood revitalization program, then Mike, our community development director, calls a meeting, and they review that, and they look at the criteria and make a decision as to if it fits the criteria. And one of the criteria is you have to be in the boundaries, okay? So let's talk about the boundaries a minute. The statute is very specific about how you set those boundaries. Now, does that mean you can't ever change it? Absolutely not. But it takes all three entities. It takes community development looking at those boundaries to make sure they meet the statutory requirements. And it takes a memorandum of understanding between all those entities and blessed by the Attorney General of the state of Kansas. So it can be done, and there are times when it should be done, and it ought to be an annual review. So I think you're going to be seeing more discussion on that. Mr. Hall and I and a couple of you, we've had some discussions. So because things change. Things change over 5 years ago. They certainly have changed over 22 years ago. And you ought to be able to be fluid. And if you can meet those conditions of the statute, then there really is no good reason why you shouldn't change those boundaries. But I do want to caution you, there's always somebody on the other side, all right? There's always somebody on the other side of that boundary. And you have to be careful about that because you just have to follow what the statute lays out. So that's a real quick history about the program. It is a great program. And I'm as excited about this program as what I was when it first came out and I put the first one together. And let me tell you a little story. It was in another community. We had a gentleman and his wife moved back to the community. They'd been gone. He was in the medical technology field. They moved back. He'd grown up. He went to schools in that community, and he wanted to come back where his family was. And we had just enacted this program, and it was in a part of town where they had not built a house for many, many years. And they went and built that house in that part of town. I drove by it when I was recently down there for a funeral. And it made such a difference in the community. You can tell by building that house, which was probably a $150,000 house at the time. Everybody else started fixing up, cleaning up. We used to hold some neighborhood meetings over there from that one first build in the revitalization area. So it's an important one. It's important to our citizens. If somebody wants to understand the program, if it's a developer, if it's a home builder, if it's somebody remodeling their home, when they get their building permit, if they're not handed a brochure about, hey, you might be interested in this, ask for it. And then turn to your right, and there's a map there with the boundaries of where the program is now. So the information's out there, it's easy to get, and you ought to ask for it, and you ought to take advantage of it if you can. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I don't have much to add to that. That's quite a bit, but I can walk you through some of the properties here. Just an observation, all but two of these represent remodels of existing homes, older homes typically, and then there are two new homes, and those are both infill properties. They're on older lots, older parts of the city. I think if you think about the big picture here, what this really does is improve the housing stock and help to maintain older homes. And that's a very important part of the housing supply. If you look at the houses that are being built now, they're probably at a different price point. And so this is a real key part of that to improve our supply of housing in the city, consistent with what we have observed with the housing study. So I can walk through some of these, or all of them, and I'll try not to take too much time. So the first one, this is a new home on Main Street. I believe it's actually under construction. And the estimated value of the improvement's $169,000. So that tells you, I don't know if there's a way to move the window so it's out of, it's not blocking that would be helpful. Thank you. So as you can see, this represents a home that's going to have a value of under $200,000. So that tells you something right there. Next, please. This is also a new home. Estimated value, I can't read it, but you can read it in your packet. But there we go. Let's see. There. Okay, so this is a $225,000 improvement. Add that to the land value. That gives you an idea of what that does to the tax base for the city.
That's what I was thinking, Mike. On these two new builds, when you look at the base of just the vacant lot, what it's valued, and compared to what the increased value would be, that's a significant tax savings for this builder. And then it passes on to the new buyer, correct, if he sells the house and goes on for the same with it 10 years?
That's correct. It runs with the property. That's right. And then after 10 years, we'll get the full value of the taxes on the increment.
Very good, yeah.
Next slide, please. This is a remodel of a single-family residence, and again, the value of the improvement is $64,000. So this is a tax rebate for 95% for 5 years. Next slide, please. So this is a remodel of a single-family residence, a $150,000 project. Next slide, please. This is remodeling a single-family residence, and you can see, the significant difference this will make. 317 South Sycamore Street. Next slide. So this is 904 South Olive. This was one of the applications, and as we discussed at the previous meeting at the study session, this one's just outside the boundary. Again, there's a process moving forward to consider a boundary change, and that'll be done, through a rational process that you'll be a part of. Next slide. This is just showing you the boundary map and the location relative to the boundary. Next slide. A remodel of a single-family residence, estimated value of the improvement, $75,000. Next slide. This is also a remodel of a single-family residence, estimated value of the improvements, $40,000. Next slide. This is a remodel of a duplex, and this is a $56,000 project estimated. Next slide. This is also a remodel of a single-family residence. Value of the improvement is $20,000. Next slide. I guess that's it. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Commissioners, any questions for Mike?
Yeah, I'd have one. On the 904 South Olive that is outside the boundary, you said in the future there'll be a process for that. Will that be able to work if work is started on that house? Because they obviously turned in a building permit. Or is that property essentially now out of luck with their current remodel?
That's a good question. I have to refer to the program to answer that question. So if you can give me just a moment.
Well, and I can make a statement in the meantime, not about that, but about, one of the great things about this program is when you went through the slides, I noticed one of those was an empty lot, infill. One of those was a blighted house that was demolished and now is being built with a single family attached. And one of them was a condemned house. So 3 of those properties are going to look way better once the remodel and construction is complete, which is exactly what this program is essential for.
Thank you.
And while Mr. Hall is looking through the neighborhood revitalization program guidelines, yesterday I was walking with a friend through just communities, and it was such a nice day, and we just were walking through part of the west side of town, and she said to me, she was like, isn't it interesting that they put a brand new house there? And I said, actually, it's not interesting. It's by design. It's all about trying to build up the whole community. And so everyone who's listening has probably driven by or seen a house that has been really repurposed or given some love. And that's exactly what this program is designed to do, is to bring up the whole community, not just the neighborhood, but the whole city of Ottawa. And so when you see those new houses that kind of just pop up, and they don't pop up by any means, it takes a tremendous amount of time and labor to make it happen. That is exactly what we're trying to do with this particular program. And it needs to be noted that it's not only the city of Ottawa, but the county and the school district too, which are partners with us on this program.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, to answer Commissioner Clayton's question, so when the plan's adopted, this program is adopted, and these rules are all part of that program. And the rule that speaks to your question is it states here, the contractor owner of a new structure must apply before construction of the new structure begins. They have applied, so I suppose one way to look at that is they're going to be able to meet that. There's probably a question whether that is an appropriate interpretation, because someone could just apply even if it's not in the plan area boundary. So I think that needs a little further looking into, but we'll do what is best and what's fair on that question.
Terrific. Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mike?
And something I just continue to look at, and for Commissioner Clayton too, that 10 years from now, the commissioners will be thanking us for doing this, because it'll certainly enhance the revenue in the City Hall. I hope I live long enough to get that thank you note, but I think it's a good program, and it's really a lot of benefit for not only the homeowners in the city, but the rest of the city as a whole when they get the increased tax revenues.
Commissioners, how would you like to proceed?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, go ahead. I defer to.
Yes.
Okay.
I move that we approve the 9 properties to be added to the Neighborhood Revitalization Program.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? For transparent purposes, my business is involved with a couple of these buildings, but no, my compensation has not changed whether these are approved or not. Just wanted to make that a public message. So, if not, I guess no more. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore,
Yes.
Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Crowley.
And I vote yes. Motions are approved. Thank you,
Thank
Mike,
you.
for all your work on this.
That's great.
Moves us on to comments by our city manager.
Thank you, Commissioners. A reminder to the public, we have board openings throughout the city that we try to fill each year. We're advertising for those. They can go to our website or our Facebook page, see what's open, and then I believe they can also electronically get the application. They can electronically get that application, send it to Laura, and we'll get to you who will review those. And finally, I want to say thank you to Commissioner Clayton, and welcome to the commission. I greatly appreciate you stepping up and wanting to serve and being willing to serve, and even going through a testifier like an election. I'm a student of government and a teacher of government at times during my career, but I hope it's not lost on our citizens. We just had a smooth transition of power, resulting from a resignation voluntarily to choosing a new person to fulfill that term. It was a smooth transition of power. It is what this republic is about. It is what the framers of the Constitution envisioned this republic would be about. And if there are those who don't appreciate that Mr. Clayton did not have to use a tank or a missile or an army to claim his seat, then I would suggest people are not watching what's happening in the world today. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That'll move us on to comments by our city commissioners, and we'll start with Commissioner Clayton.
No new comments other than, what I said earlier, that I'm looking forward to this opportunity, to learn from the experiences of everyone sitting at this table both personally, professionally, and in their service up here.
Thank you. Commissioner Kaler?
I always appreciate, I too have gone through a few of these transitions in my 12 years that I've been a commissioner. And I always appreciate our comments by our city manager when he reminds us of the smooth transition that can happen and does happen here on the city level. You know, the last couple nights I've been watching on PBS, because I'm that old and that's what I do, a documentary about Benjamin Franklin. And I just appreciate that the wisdom that those individuals had when putting together our country, and that we can continue that tradition of smoothly making a transition within our form of local government. Zach, we are so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. I can't speak for everyone else, but I'm very glad you're here. So welcome. I look forward to big things from you.
Thank you.
And then I did wear red. It's not crimson, but it's close. I do want to thank, and actually I think the whole University of Kansas University wants to thank Commissioner Skidmore for the support from at the game on Monday. So if you could do that more often, we would appreciate it. But we certainly appreciate the cheers and the goodwill that you sent to Kansas University and sending us on to a win. I did on Monday night proudly proclaim that it was your responsibility for the win while I was on Mass Street. So, and everyone really appreciated it, gleefully appreciated it. So thank you so much for your support.
Sure.
Any more?
I don't.
Rub it in some more? I mean,
I can go all night long.
Yeah, I bet you can.
Thank you. Commissioner Graves?
I too just would like to welcome Commissioner Clayton, and you made it just in time for budget season, so congratulations.
You'll be thanking us later.
Yeah, that's right.
Mayor Pro Tem Skidmore.
Well, I think I said when we were taking the interviews too, that how we can trust the process, and we've had success in the past with several people up here at one time being selected by the committee, and that with that success we can trust the future of the process as well. And I'm confident Commissioner Clayton will fill that role very well, and looking forward to serving with him. And as far as the game goes, it's interesting. It went kind of late. I kind of snoozed off, and they started losing. My wife woke me up, and you started winning. So I got to stay awake if I'm going to continue to support you. But I'll certainly do that. And if I'll wear that shirt again next year, I'll take collections before I wear it again. So if it's that valuable shirt, I'll take money. That always works. But that's all I
Thank
got.
you. Moves us on to comments by the mayor, and I also want to welcome. She already did.
Oh, okay.
She was rubbing it in too.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I was trying to make sure she didn't want to rub it in more. You just give her another option.
I also want to welcome Commissioner Clayton. Thank you. Thank you, as Richard said, for putting yourself out there and be willing to sit up here with us. It's great to have all five of us sitting up here again, so welcome. And then I'd also, as always, like to thank Mrs. Campbell's class for being here. I know a lot of them ran off. I think so. A few of you stuck around. I think you get a better grade for that, actually.
Jared's still here. Good job, Jared.
And if you could bribe them somehow with a better grade to kind of look like they enjoy it a little bit, that'd be great for us. So, thank you. We certainly appreciate when they come here. It's enjoyable to see them out there. Thank you all for coming. That'll move us on to our announcements. April 11th, we have our study session at 4 p.m. April 18th, we have another study session at 4 p.m. April 20th, our regular meeting's at 10 a.m. And then April 20th, we have our joint meeting hosted by the school district. Is there anything else that would like to become before the commission tonight? If not, I'll adjourn.